This was my first race after a 42-year layoff of 50 breaths. I was so nervous I could barely stand it, and you can tell from the way I took off. Needless to say, after that 50, I just about wore myself out in 2 laps. I wasn't sure exactly what pace to take in the 200 breaths, which is this event. If you watch the person in the outside lane, he gets quite a head start on me. At this point, he's leading me by 2 seconds. Now he has a 3-second lead. I finally saw him, and I thought, well, I can just cruise and catch him. That's the way I used to do it when I was young. Now on the 5th lap, I'm starting to make some headway. I actually had no idea this guy was 15 years younger than myself, and it was his first race after quite a long layoff. It just wasn't as long a layoff as my own. I started my sprint on the 7th lap, knowing that he'd be picking it up on his 8th lap. I tried to make it all up, but he was still leading me by 1.5 seconds at the turn. At this point, I had nothing to lose. I turned it on like I'd never turned it on before, and I actually picked it up and passed him and beat him by 1 second. So I made up 2.5 seconds on the last lap. That was the biggest comeback win of my new career with a time of 2:55. Here I am, 64 years old, learning to swim all over again. Now we come to 2 years later at the National Championships in San Juan, Puerto Rico. By this time I had also learned how to swim butterfly and backstroke. This is the 200 breast, 4 lengths of the 50-meter pool. The walls are flat, so there's nothing to grab a hold of in order to make your turns. It made the turns difficult. My start was fairly good. I was trying to figure out how fast to swim, and I chose a medium to slow pace with nice long glides. Right here is the completion of my 2nd lap. I looked to the side on both sides because I couldn't believe I was ahead, and I was hoping nobody was going to pass me. At this point, I had so much energy left, I decided to sprint, and I chose a beat to sprint to the music. But I was just having too much fun with my first national win. My time of 3 minutes 11 seconds and 70 hundredths turned out to be the 2nd fastest in the world for 2010. Late in 2008, my coach, Tom Harabedian, asked me if I could swim a length of fly. I told him I didn't think I could. I took 3 strokes and stopped. I said, that's all I can do. He said, oh, that's terrible. We're going to have to work on that. So now, 2 years later, after studying the rule book and figuring out my new kick alternating with whip kick and dolphin kick, I put together a 200 fly that was good enough to win All-American in 2010. At this point, I can barely get my arms out of the water, just enough to finish. My time at 3:25.93 was the fastest time in the United States for 2010.
Okay, now this is going to be kind of different. Imagine, if you will, karaoke for cars, maybe. Something like that. Anyway, this is something Dave Noble has figured all out, so let's see if we can make it work. You ready, Dave? All right, here we go. I'm going to hit the play button. 3, 2, 1. Oh, you remember the movie, don't you? Burt Reynolds. Ned Beatty. I think you're supposed to watch the cars, right? Okay. Dueling Corvettes out there.
Here is every color of a 1957 Chevy convertible. All these cars are fuel injected.
He's trying to break Michael Phelps' tooth.
Away they go. The men's 200-meter freestyle final. Biederman is in 1, Park in 2. Rossolino, the first of the yellow lanes, is Bandit, Hoogenband the second, and away quickly is Phelps. Then it's Munn, Janky.
Van Hoogenband's just starting to peg him back a bit. Phelps did get a great start. He was very explosive. And look at him underwater. He's gone out to the 10-meter mark underwater. Just working those turns as much as possible, getting any...
If he's to bring his big finish into play, still under world record pace. Phelps from Bandit, Hoogenband and Rossolino at the 100.
Phelps is looking fantastic. He doesn't look out of his comfort zone right now. He's got a fantastic kick. He's sitting...
Phelps has a big finish, so does Park. It's Phelps, Bandit, Hoogenband and Rossolino, and they are half a second under the American. He's going to shatter the world record. Phelps, world record, maybe. He's in front. Gold medal coming up. Will it be world record? Phelps, world record. Magnificent.
What was the time? What was the time for that record setting event? 1 minute, 49 seconds. 5,700.
Well, that's